If you feel like you're behind, I want you to know that you're not broken, you're becoming. You know, we have this cultural fascination with needing to hustle, go, 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 get ahead. But that makes us feel like we're fucking late or we're off track. But the timeline that matters most is the one that is rooted in your nervous system, your healing, and your authenticity. And real success unfolds in seasons. So becoming who you truly are takes time. You can't hustle your way there. Becoming is a slow, drawn-out process of connecting deeply to who you are as a creative. So what if that timeline of your pace isn't your weakness, but it's your wisdom? So in this video, I want to call bullshit on this sort of myth of falling behind. I want to talk about how becoming is a nervous system process. And I want to celebrate the invisible work that you're already doing, you know, and then really talk about why success is going to look different when you are rooted in yourself as a multi-passionate creative. So if you're new here, my name's Kev. I'm an award-winning furniture designer, and I help ambitious creatives get into their bodies, become more emotionally intelligent, and design and build goddamn aligned businesses, baby. So I first want to address this kind of cultural obsession with hustle, fast timelines, achievements, milestones, and while all of those things can be great, what they ultimately lead to is this really unhealthy comparison, this kind of burnout culture, and just the overall feeling of not enoughness, right? You know, when we start to believe that everyone else is further along than us, talk about shame spiral, right? You know, like I should be more successful than I am. Look at where this person is. I'm not there. Will I ever get there? I gotta go, go, go. I gotta burn out, you know. That program is thick, you know. But I really want to call bullshit on that because that pace was never yours to begin with. We're just sort of conditioned into this culture where that is the process that has been rewarded. I don't think that's as rewarded in the marketplace as it used to be, and certainly not as rewarded in the sense of fulfillment. That might be a very one-dimensional success, but not a very multi-dimensional, integrated, holistic sense of success, right? So there's this myth of falling behind. That if we're not doing X, Y, and Z, then we're not good enough, we're not going to get where we want to be. And while I do admire devotion and discipline, before any of that, you need to really tap into what feels most authentic to you. What's the pace? What's the cadence that your body and your nervous system wants to move at that is sustainable? It's knowing where your edge is, and it's not blowing past it, sprinting at full speed, believing that that's a way to run a marathon. It's not. It's tapping into knowing where that edge is and being able to dance it. I know I say this time and time again, but being able to attune to it, to regulate to that new wideness in depth, right? This is why I fully believe that becoming is a nervous system process, and no amount of hustle is going to help you become more of who you know you can be, because that's based in outer metrics, and success is an inside game. So we need to really connect to the somatics of what is happening in our body and where we've been operating from as creatives. When the body is dysregulated, we're chasing timelines, milestones, and achievements out of fear, you know? And when we're operating out of fear, we're really running on, 5 out of 6 cylinders at best. We're not utilizing all of us. We have a limit, and we can become a good version of that limited self. But like I always say, I would much rather you become a shitty version of a very expansive and unlimited version of yourself than the former. So a regulated nervous system moves from presence rather than performance, panic, fear, you name it. And when we move from presence, we are utilizing all of the resources that is us. That's who you are, right? Your creativity, your depth, your quirkiness, your play, your attunement and sensitivity, your relatability. You're using all of that instead of the strategies and metrics that you think you should be using to be successful because everybody else out there is using them. That's bullshit. Your presence is your greatest gift to the world. The more you connect to that, the more your unraveling and unfolding of true, authentic success will occur, you know? So you can't rush these seasons, right? That's why becoming is slow. It's a slow, awkward, and long process, you know? You can't force the flower to fucking bloom, you know? You can't force the spring. First you have to root. You have to be in your winter phase, to spread the analogy. You gotta get your roots deep, you know? And from there, you are wide and deep enough, your nervous system capacity is expanded enough to where you have the emotional resiliency to create, to give from your depth and not the pressure, and be unattached to the outer metrics, the comparisons, the how everyone else believes you should be operating when it's like, no, this is what feels right for me. This is slow is fast. Slow is fast. God, just say it in the back. Fucking slow is fast. Everything I've ever pursued out of urgency has just crumbled. Anytime I've feverishly needed something in my life, I just pushed it further away. But the more I can acknowledge what my authentic desire is and root into my body, connect to myself, desire it wholeheartedly, but to move slowly towards it. That creates this sort of, in my eyes, sort of erotic tension between what you desire to where what you desire starts to desire you. Because you're not grasping and reaching for it, you are moving boldly and magnetizing it closer because you are not leaving your center to get it. You are giving your way towards it. Huge difference, right? So becoming as a nervous system process is seasonal, cellular, and in a way it's a very sacred unfolding of your true essence because it takes a hell of a lot of courage and connection to all parts of yourself to let it unfold slowly. Because that unfolding is a process of what I call the invisible work you're already doing, you know? It's what the world doesn't see. It's the inner healing, all those quiet pivots, the courage to take a fucking pause and be still, and all of the boundaries that you set that previously you would have not put into the field. That is the work. That is the becoming. And those are the things that are pre-metrics. Those are the things that are pre-tangible results. But they are creating the structure and the very foundation for you to build something real, sustainable, and meaningful. And if you want help doing more of that deep somatic work, I invite you to check out the Embodied Creator TOOLKIT. It's a facilitated series of experiments to help you create that wide and deep presence and nervous system through the real-time feedback of expressing your creativity in the world, because it's such a great vessel, right? The way that our creativity and our business can reflect the work that we're doing. But that is where the rubber hits the road. That is the real work. And lastly, success is going to look different and feel different when you're rooted. In fact, success is going to feel different when you're rooted. Every time I got, quote, success of what it looked like, I was left feeling like this isn't actually what I want, or maybe that's good for a second, but I'm not really feeling as expanded as I thought I would because it wasn't rooted. It wasn't grounded in my center. It was in the theatrics of my mind and my ego, right? So when you honor your nervous system, you are really changing your path of success, right? Because when you are connected to that somatic expression of where your creativity comes from, because I'll say it again, flow state, which is where our best creativity, our most nourishing, deep creativity comes from. Flow state is a nervous system state. Fight me. It's not a mental thing. You know, it's a full contact sport. It's this full body expression. So when we're connected to our nervous system and our body in that capacity, we take aligned action versus this sort of anxious striving. We can acknowledge when anxiety is coming up inside of us, but as an embodied creator, shameless plug, we learn to take the pause and act in alignment and inside of our integrity, right? We learn to be in our creative flow and to do the practices that help us get there when we don't feel there, as opposed to pressuring ourselves to be a certain way, to show up in a certain way. We first check in, make sure we're in that regulated state, and then we give, you know? We can be inspired by our dysregulated states, like there's a lot of juice there, you know? It's not to discredit that. But becoming wide and deep as an embodied creative means that the way that we can return to our window of tolerance, to our sort of sacred threshold of where our best creativity comes from in our regulation, that's sort of the litmus test. And we can borrow when we're dysregulated that inspiration in those moments, because let's be honest, I mean, most of the great art that we have been left with across centuries has come from people that were fucking fucked up, you know? And I don't think that's the template anymore, but there's something to be said about those extremes, right? We can make art from the extremes. But to do this sustainably, in a way that expands your life, I want you to come to your center. To use the inevitable extremes you experience as inspiration, but to create from this place of regulation, you know? Because from there, that's where we have authentic impact. And we're not really as worried about this performative growth. The paradox is when you are focused on creating authentic impact, that's when the performance, the true growth actually happens. Because one, you're unattached to it, which is what makes you magnetic to it. And two, when you're in your heart and you're moving boldly, that's just fucking magnetic, right? So all that to say, like, you're not behind. You are right on time for your life. And if I could offer anything, it's to drop the bullshit cussle culture. The bullshit hustle culture dogma of get what everyone else is having, quicker, better, faster, stronger. You know, and if you weren't here yesterday, you're too late. Drop that. Tune into like the unfolding of your life. And whatever's there, there's going to be grief there. There's going to be resentment, there's going to be sorrow, and there's also going to be joy. Whatever it is, you're not to blame, but now you are responsible for creating the culture of what you crave moving forward. And to do so, you have to realize that becoming is this slow, awkward, and nuanced process of deepening your connection to your body, widening and deepening your nervous system, and creating from depth, not pressure. So how can you invite that deep sense of safety, of a slower pace to fuel your creative expression, you know? And if you want help creating that authentic blueprint of creative success, check out the Embodied Creator TOOLKIT. The link's in the description. But in the meantime, if you found this valuable, please subscribe. Leave a comment if there's something you'd love to share. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Ciao!